Chapter 6 starts a series of 4 chapters that you might call period pieces, which made them incredibly fun to do. Chapter 6 itself takes place in the 70s, which to me screams disco style, and it was fun to get the tap in to my understanding of it, or my version of it, to help tell the story for Chapter 6. Let's dive in. One thing I love about a lot of the music from the 70s is that it actually was laden with strings, which means I could rely on the sound of the violins and the violas to help carry the track. It starts with a quasi-generic style sounding disco track with the drum part and a lot of the other instruments doing what you might expect. I'll just play a little of it. Okay, but where the track starts getting interesting and help tell the story is after this primary opening section, we get to this, almost you could call it like a B section, I guess, where things start happening. I'll just play the start of it so you can get it in your ears. And then we get to the actual section. Okay, but there's a lot happening in this transition, a lot of foreshadowing. We have this organ style sound playing this. Okay, if you recall last week with Chapter 5, I talked about the spatial corporate theme that I wrote right when I started writing all the music for We Are Connected. Well, in that track, which starts like this to remind you, the second half of the original corporate track sounds like this. Which, if you go back to track 6, that's what the Hammond organ is actually playing in this transition. Just slower and in a different key, a little bit more ominous. And then playing against that, you have one of the spatial, I guess, audio logo, you might call it. Which is taken from one of the earlier commercials of spatial that actually comes later in the story, which is also a derivation of da 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 da, what the Hammond organ was playing. So we're trying to show that the different eras and the different times of spatial are kind of being hinted at here. That little transition takes us to a section that is kind of bizarre, and it was meant to be bizarre. Let me just play it a little so you can see what I mean by that. There's a lot of rhythm going on in a lot of different places. So let's break down what's happening. Here's what's being played in the piano. Which is a derivation of the opening of the spatial corporate track. In case to get it in your ears, that's this guitar line. So da-dee-da, that gets used a lot in track 6. The piano part is doing a version of that. And then to get all these different rhythms, I'm actually playing with different meters. So the overall feel with the rhythm, and if I take out some of these, if I take out the strings and some of the guitars, here's what it sounds like. So it's kind of in a 4/4 with this kind of lazy hopping snares and kicks that make it feel a little bit off. And then underneath that you have, first of all, with the one of the violin parts and the acoustic, you get a different meter altogether. They create this 3 feeling, which ends up being, if you wanted it as a meter, almost like a 15/8, which is really silly. Really, it's just adding this feel of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 against what's already there. Also, we have a different feel between the violin 2 and electric guitar, and that sounds like this. And this is a very odd meter. It's 4/4 plus 4/4 plus 7/4. So this also creates an imbalance between the 3 feel and then the actual off 4 feel. So then all together it just creates a lot of confusion and a little offness. And that leads to one of my favorite sections. I knew I needed a transition. I needed a way to get back to the opening disco feel. So I thought, why not do a little breakdown where the violins get to show off? And this was super fun to write and really fun to record as well. And why not have the tambourine to go over it? And this just leads naturally to the disco feel again. And there you have it. This track was super fun to write. It was very much trying to tell the story as much as I could through using some of the different motives that have been introduced in the first 5-ish chapters, and now starting to really develop them in this chapters 6 through 10. So thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you next time.